Hi there, readers. Welcome to 2021. My first book chat for this year is called In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a memoir, and it's about an abusive relationship. And these types of memoirs are really common, but this memoir isn't like any other I've ever read. And trust me, I've read quite a few. So many memoirs go back and forth in time, and this one also does. But this one does something that no other memoir that I've read does, and it tells the story through different lenses. So like there is Dream House as Choose Your Own Adventure. So they all start as Dream House as. So this one says Dream House as Noir. So there's the Choose Your Own Adventure, which I really liked. There's the Dream House as Chekhov's Gun, which is a literary device. Dream House as Second Chances. So it's just got all these different types of tropes that the story is told using those as kind of a framework. And then there's also at the beginning, this is funny. It says Dream House's Overture. Okay. So this is the very beginning. It says, I never read prologues. I find them tedious. If what the author has to say is so important, why relegate it to the paratext? What are they trying to hide? So you turn the page and what do you have? Dream House as prologue, which I found funny and clever because the speaker in this never reads prologues, and yet she wrote one for her book anyway. Knowing that, hey, maybe we would find it tedious. It's kind of a joke that I think is kind of hilarious. There's also shifts in point of view in this book. And sometimes the narrator is I, sometimes the narrator is you, but it's understood that whether it's I or you, the narrator is always the same person, the author. It's just that in employing these different points of view, a fuller story gets told. And there is a quote by Dorothy Allison used at the start of the last section of the book. And it says, 2 or 3 things I know for sure. And one of them is that telling the story all the way through is an act of love. And that, again, is a quote by Dorothy Allison, the author of many books, but probably most well-known, Bastard Out of Carolina. So what I love about that is that she's basically saying that this is an act of love, telling the story as fully as she can. And maybe it's not an act of love to the person who the book is about, which is an abusive ex-partner, but it's an act of love for herself in telling the story all the way through. And I love that. And it reminds me so much of things I've been through in my own life and how you have to tell and retell the story of something really important that happened to you. Maybe it's traumatic, just something so that you can begin to heal and really process it. So I love that quote. I think it was very aptly used. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about a little bit is that I love, while I love the way the story is told, what am I trying to say? What I adore even more is that in writing this book is that Machado is breaking barriers, because this is a book about an abusive relationship between women. So Machado identifies as queer. She was in a relationship with another lesbian, and there's a lot to unpack in that for so many people, because we don't normally think of women as being abusive. And in fact, we probably have this vision, if we think of women in a relationship with each other, because women don't tend to be abusive, generally speaking, then we think, oh man, that's got to be like paradise, being with another woman. You're with someone who understands you completely and blah, blah, blah. And what this memoir aims to do is to say, no, that's not true. There are dynamics in queer relationships that aren't healthy. And it's interesting because it calls into question some of our beliefs about how relationships are supposed to be, especially when you're in a non-normative one. When you're in something other than the heteronormative relationship, there's a lot of pressure for the relationship to work out or to be perfect, because you've had to fight tooth and nail just to have that relationship and to begin with. So in the words of like what Machado says, she says, I'm going to read this paragraph to you. This is her, I think, her main point. It's not being radical to point out that people on the fringe have to be better than people in the mainstream, that they have twice as much to prove. And trying to get people to see your humanity, you reveal just that, your humanity, your fundamentally problematic nature, all the unique and terrible ways in which people can and do fail. But people have trouble with this concept. It's like how, after finding Nemo, people who were ill-equipped to take care of fish rushed out to buy them, and how the clownfish all died. People love an idea, even if they don't know what to do with it, even if they only know how to do exactly the wrong thing. So, I think that's what I love most about this book, is that it's gotten me thinking about, wow, there's just so much I don't know. And there's so many assumptions you make and you don't even realize it until someone kind of writes a book like this and makes you rethink things and assumptions you've made. So I love that. I love this book. I highly recommend. I thank you so much for returning to hang out with me again. And that's all for this time. And I will see you next time. Take care.